great Halloween, everybody!
I believe it was our most horrible yet.
Christmas time?
How horrible our Christmas will be.
Happy Halloween!
It's Christmas time!
You heard it up top. Get ready to learn what's this as we discuss the ultimate holiday movie, because it covers two. We're talking Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Happy Face Colin and Sad Face Colin.
Oogie Boogie Mike.
And this is, of course, Jake Skellington, the Pumpkin King.
I think you mean the Podcast King.
The Podcast King.
There we go.
Yes.
Take two. You know, sometimes he gets tired of podcasting and he wants to take over other holidays. I got to watch out.
Malaise
What's
hits you.
this? We're
He's having
podcasting in the air. I don't
Absolutely.
know.
So I'm excited to do this. You know, we did our holiday movie draft last week, and this was one of the selections, and we alluded to first decem-burton that we would do Nightmare Before Christmas because it's definitively a Christmas movie.
We did sip
That's
Tim
right.
Burton. We are now in decem-burton. I love it.
Yeah, we can't escape.
Absolutely.
But I did mention that it might be interesting to take our lists and then run them through Rotten Tomatoes and get like a aggregate score, you know, of the overall audience and critics reviews. And I've done that. So if you would like, I could go ahead and reveal the winners and losers of the draft.
Let's hear it.
I guess I'll go from the bottom up.
Let me
In last place, Jacob, or do you have a prediction?
I was going to predict that my team is going to come out on top. As
Yeah.
I picked all the classic Christmas staples.
Fair. And when I did this, I left out the wild cards, mostly for my own self-interest, because I was really throwing with Silent Night. So it's just the starting five.
Fair.
But in last place, with an average critic score of 68.4 and an average audience score of 74.4, is me, with Gremlins, Muppet Christmas Carol, Jingle All the Way, Christmas Chronicles, Tokyo Godfathers being my MVP with an average score of 91.5.
I feel like Jingle All the Way might have brought your score down.
Yeah,
That
all
did really
classics
bad.
Other than that film, unfortunately, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What does that have? Like a 50, Mike? That's got to be.
It's got a
low.
20 from critics and a 41 from audiences, so an average of
Oh my
30.
God.
Yeah, it was not
Yeah.
liked when it came out, maybe, but maybe reclaimed a little bit as a
No.
Christmas.
Not even
classic.
reclaimed.
No, not even.
They took Turbo Man back to the toy store. They said, I don't want to play with you anymore, and that's where it sits, I guess. It's sin bad right now. But anyway, so I got last place. In the runner-up, though, with an aggregate score overall of a critic score of 77% and an audience score of 80.2, so high C, low B, is Colin's list with Batman
Wow.
Returns, Scrooge, Nightmare Before Christmas, this episode, Die Hard, and Just Friends, with the MVP being Die Hard with an average of 94. But
And Just Friends definitely tanked me, I'm sure. Okay.
43 to 71, yeah.
I was trying to remember who picked this Nightmare Before Christmas.
It was almost the MVP
good pick,
with
'cause I wanted that one
93.5. No, it's a
Yeah.
good one. It's one of the top performers here. And then first place, as you can guess, with an average critic score of 85.2 and an average audience score of 88.6. It's almost
Wow.
90% audience score. Jacob's List with It's a Wonderful Life, Christmas Story, National Lampoon's, Christmas Vacation, Elf, and Charlie Brown Christmas, which we dogged on. It's sitting at an 86 and a
Can't dog on
94.
Yeah.
So
like Snoopy, you know?
it's well loved, but his MVP is It's a Wonderful Life, the highest score of any
Yeah,
movie,
of course.
94.5.
I have
I mean, who could
asked.
give a negative review to that movie?
Well, I
Yeah.
have asked almost every family member I have and every person I work with what their favorite Christmas movie is, and I want to say 90% have said It's a Wonderful Life. Like, it is
course.
undeniable.
It's my
Yeah.
mom's favorite. She watches it every year, you know. It's a great one. I mean, you'd have to have no heart to give it a negative review, I think.
Your mom
But-
might be suicidal.
Yeah. But you know, I think my list, it had a lot of critically acclaimed movies, but I feel like your guys' list had a lot of personal picks and stuff. So I mean, I like all the movies that I picked, but maybe I could have gone off the beaten path a little bit. So it's a little bit of a normie pick, you might say, for Normies Like Us.
No, but you looked at the scouting report and you definitely you went with who was top of you followed
Yeah,
the
I was
numbers.
trying to build a team that would win. That's what I do.
And they
But,
certainly will.
Yeah, the fucking
Yeah.
Los Angeles Lakers over there fucking jamming on us.
Yep.
But it was a fun draft, and brought up some old classics that made me want to rewatch them, and just in time for the holiday season and everything.
And this is a good one to transition, The Nightmare Before Christmas. I noticed that on all of our lists, we each picked one animated or non-live action, with Charlie Brown, Tokyo Godfathers, and then Colin had A Nightmare Before Christmas stop motion. So,
That's right.
You know what? And I want to hear you guys' history. But I was kind of thinking, I almost texted you guys this on Saturday. I am excited to talk this film. I'm excited that literally both of you were like, yeah, I was thinking maybe I was going to draft it or whatever. As I was watching it this weekend, it kind of hit me of like, is there enough meat on the bone here? What can you kind of say about this movie other than it's great? And I almost threw the audible to you guys to be like, do we just talk the live action Grinch? I've been thinking about it so much since you guys have been
that's
talking
what we
about it.
need
It
to
seems
do.
like so much more in our wheelhouse, but I am happy that we're talking this movie.
Maybe that's one for we could do next year, because we're always looking
Yeah.
for new holiday ones around December.
Yeah.
And that would be a fun one to revisit, especially with Sonic 3 coming out at some point, right?
Ooh,
oh yeah.
I think maybe next week.
Yeah,
Really?
some would say that Jim
Yeah.
carries that movie.
Yeah. Well, this movie, did you guys know? So obviously it is a Christmas movie, as we've definitively decided.
Yeah.
But did you know this is the third movie in a row that Tim Burton in this era was involved with that is a Christmas movie? Because of course you have Batman Returns, you have Edward Scissorhands,
Oh,
which you could consider a Christmas movie. It's got some
Mhm.
Christmas stuff in it, and then this movie. So
I
he was
always
really
forget
into
about
Christmas.
Scissorhands. It does, of course, end with that scene with old Winona Ryder in the bad makeup being like, and then it snowed and snowed.
Right.
That's right.
So Tim Burton, he was just really obsessed with Christmas in the early 90s, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys see this in theaters? For me, it perpetually existed on VHS. I don't think I went to theaters for it.
Yeah. Well, I think I would have been about, when did this come out?
93?
92, 93. So I would have been 3 years old.
Yeah, I was like 3 or
even if
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have told this story on the pod before, but the first movie I ever remember seeing in theaters was Mission Impossible.
That's right.
So when did that come
Okay.
out? I don't know, 95.
That is insane. Every time you say that, I'm like, that is
Yeah.
abuse by your parents. You're like, come on, let's make a core memory here. Let's see Brian De Palma's Mission Impossible.
Right.
I believe
Weird,
I came into consciousness as a human
experience.
being during White Fang. That's like the first
White
movie I remember.
Fang.
I feel like I popped into consciousness in the movie theater during that.
Wow. And of course, I have said 1,000 times, mine was Batman Returns.
Mhm.
And, the interesting thing about that is it's not like I had some like run to the theater moment or my parents were like, well, he really liked that other Maniacs thing. This movie has that Maniac's name on it. Should we take him to see Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas? No, same as you guys. I mean, this was just a blockbuster staple. And I think maybe a babysitter showed it to me.
Right.
This is one we had on VHS for sure, and maybe I've told this on the pod before, but we used to, we had a VCR with 2 slots, and we would just rent movies and just record them on the blank tapes to keep them. So we just had a collection of VHSs that we never paid for, which is
Classic.
the original pirating, I guess.
Right.
And this
Before
is one
that
of those movies.
damn Macrovision ruined it.
Yeah.
Well, you
Right?
you used to do that ad campaign, Jacob. You wouldn't download a car, and you wouldn't put 2 VCRs next to each other.
I would.
That would be
But-
immoral. Yeah.
Yeah, and I never wondered about like, oh yeah, we're just like kind of ripping off these movies, but I was, just a kid, but I think it's fine.
What's the fantasy there, Blockbuster? Like every day I'm going to come back to rent the same movie. It's like you got the $9 from me. Like you should be happy about that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, with the
Yeah.
availability of streaming now, it's like if you pay for all these streaming sites, you can just watch almost anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a different time. VHSs. But yeah, we used to watch this all the time. And this was one of those ones that certain parts did give me nightmares before Christmas, if
Nice.
you will. Like Batman Returns, it was very, some core memories were made as a child watching this, probably at a too young age to appreciate it. But yeah.
No, I don't think I'd ever seen it in widescreen before this viewing, because I don't generally watch it every single year. I maybe watched it a ton as a kid, and like I almost remember it, line for line, all the songs, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it in HD before. So that was interesting to see the edges of the
Wow.
frame,
Right. Right.
It gets a big 3D re-release every year. Do you guys think this was the first stop motion film you ever saw, or was it probably those Rankin Bass Christmas movies?
You know what? Fun fact, that's actually what inspired them to do stop motion for this. I learned too. It's like, oh, I love the Rankin Bass things. I want to do stop motion. Those I probably saw first. I might have seen Jason and the Argonauts before this too, like weirdly.
Oh wow, little
Yeah.
Phil Tippett in there. I love that.
Yeah, well, that's a little Ray Harryhausen. Which
Or I'm sorry, Ray Harryhausen.
no, and to tie it all back into our history with the Planet of the Apes and King Kong and Peter Jackson, all this kind of stuff going on, the tradition of stop motion going all the way back to a King Kong, and now we're at the Nightmare. So
This was probably, I think I maybe saw this before those Rankin Bass ones even, or to my memory at least. But another one that I watched a lot as a kid around the same time was, of course, James and the Giant Peach,
yep.
which is Henry Selick's other movie from this era. And that's another one we had on VHS. And that's a great one as well, of course. If you've never seen that, check that out.
We had some Gumby going on. It was a good era for stop motion, I guess.
Gumby, yeah.
Gumby was maybe, I guess, the first stop motion thing I ever saw.
Yeah, Wallet and Gromit, or whatever. Gromit? Wallace? And,
Gromit.
Yeah, Gromit.
Wallace and Gromit, yeah. What's that? Chicken Escape.
Chicken Run.
Chicken
Chicken Escape.
Coraline comes a little bit later, but yeah. Are you fans of stop motion generally?
Well, just because you
Absolutely.
just said that, Mike, I have a very core memory, and if you'll do some quick Googling for me, we brought this up in our other Tim Burton films, but whenever Alice in Wonderland came out, I truly think it was either Coraline came out a week later, a month later, or maybe vice versa. Coraline came out before Alice in Wonderland, but I have a great memory of taking a photography class with Jacob, skipping
Yes.
class, being bad boys, going to the Indian buffet by us, having a
some
huge
Indian
meal,
food.
maybe doing some bad guy stuff in a parking lot real quick, and going to see a movie at our local Regal, which was right by our college. And we sat down, or I'm sorry, we walked up to the box office, and this kid with a Cheshire grin turned to me again. I don't know which one came first, but you said, "We got to see this movie in 3D." I was like, "Okay."
Yes.
And if
Coraline.
it was Coraline, was it Coraline first?
I think Coraline we saw in 3D. I don't remember
2009.
if Alice in Wonderland we saw in 3D or not.
But
And
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, please, Mike. So tell me.
Coraline was 2009, Alice in Wonderland was 2010, so I'm assuming you're watching Coraline.
Those are
and then
both
decide.
movies we
But
saw in college. In
I
the
swear
theaters
within
together.
a month of each other, because we definitely saw Coraline and it was so good and maybe the best 3D film ever made that truly the next time we went, Jacob, you were like, "Well, we got to see another one in 3D." And we definitely
probably
saw
it,
Alice in Wonderland in
that was
3D
not as
as
good.
well. And it was terrible.
Oh man, that
But
was
Coraline
really
is the
pushing
perfect
3D.
movie for 3D because it's stop motion puppetry and things. It's not live action humans and things. So it's a lot. The 3D is less immersion breaking, I guess, or
And
less.
of course,
uncanny
Henry
valley.
Selick. And I'm curious if you guys think, is that the best stop motion movie ever made, or is it this film we're going to talk about today?
I think Coraline might have. I might need to rewatch it, but that one is so good, and that was Henry Selick, of course, like you said. But that oh man, that movie is so good, and he was refining the techniques over the years through these different movies. I also saw Wendell and Wild recently, like last year, which is his newest
Netflix.
one. Yeah. But I always try to see Henry Selick's movies when they come out. I saw Fantastic Mr. Fox, the Wes Anderson stop motion movie is great. Like I just love stop motion as an art form.
Del
And
Toro's Pinocchio.
Del Toro's Pinocchio, yes, absolutely. And they're so rare, like they're so rare nowadays that they come out because they're so labor intensive to make and such a sort of dying art form where there's not many people that really can do it well compared to like CG or traditional hand drawn animation. So I always try to make an effort to see those because I just love them so much.
God bless
Yeah.
Leica for existing. But Mike, were you a
Yes.
Coraline fan? Did you know who Henry Selick was, I guess, outside of like the Tim Burton thing here?
I really had no familiarity with Henry Selick. I didn't see Coraline until later, like on. I like it a lot. I think it's really impressive. But I do think where stop motion is now. They had that like Missing Link movie or whatever. Like it owes
Right.
everything to
Not really.
what this movie pioneered for techniques,
Yeah.
though.
Claymation and stop motion. Yeah.
Mhm.
And to mention, James and the Giant Peach again. Did you guys see that when you were kids?
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
Around
that
the
was
same time as this
same
one?
as this. It was a
Yeah.
huge rental, or
Mhm.
probably pirated VHS as well, Jacob. Honestly,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Man, but yeah, those I love
Yeah,
it as
shout
well.
out to Leica, and the Kubo and the Two Strings is actually, they're
Right.
doing good stuff, but it's a lot of labor, and maybe we'll touch on more of the production
Yeah.
process that goes into a film like this when we jump into it. But yeah, I like stop motion,
the box
however.
trolls. Yeah.
Yeah, I have
Box
to
Trolls
say,
were great.
I like my little guys, but I like the puppets of Jim Henson is more my wheelhouse, but I love stop
Sure.
motion because it is still handcrafted. I think they're both super, super valid and important.
Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about that a little bit, because to shift to what this film that we're going to talk about today ended up kind of spawning. I think what you just said, Mike, the puppets, the Dark Crystal, the Muppets, the Labyrinth, the little bit of darker little guys world is
Mhm.
so married to this film, and specifically, we have to say it, Hot Topic. Now,
Oh man, yeah.
were you
Yes.
guys Hot Topic guys? Jacob, you were kind of a pseudo goth, kind of like an early emo kid, right?
Well, I'd say
Were you
yeah,
a
I'm
Hot
emo.
Topic kid?
I was into emo. I was into pop punk. Blink-182 obviously was a huge band for me in high school. My Chemical Romance, of course. The
Mike.
Used, Mike's favorite bands.
Mhm.
Less into sort of the goth, if you're talking traditional goth,
Yeah.
but definitely Hot Topic was my favorite store at the mall. And whenever I went to the mall, I'd have to go to Hot Topic because mainly, because they have all my favorite bands' shirts, right? And you just look at all the wall of shirts that they have.
Mhm.
Excuse me. But yes, so they had a ton of Night Before Christmas merch. Obviously, that was one of their big sellers. Like I said, Blink-182 popularized. I feel like popularized that whole thing with the song "I Miss You" that we talked about last week.
You like Jacket Sally?
And
Yeah.
do you guys remember like Travis Barker, the Travis Barker reality show "Meet the Barkers" on MTV? Did you ever watch it?
I
You
do,
didn't watch
yeah.
that? Yeah. It was all about his relationship with Shanna Moakler, I think her name was,
Whoa.
and his first marriage. Now he's married to a Kardashian, which is kind of crazy that he's still like relevant to
yes.
pop culture in that way, and
Right.
working with all these young artists and kind of revitalizing the pop punk movement. But in this show, Meet the Barkers, they had a wedding. Their wedding was all Nightmare Before Christmas themed.
No fucking
No
way.
shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
And that was on MTV like 2005. So it was huge in the 2000s, like with emo and pop punk
But
people.
back to your personal aesthetic, Jacob, because
Yeah.
you did the dyed black hair, you wore a lot of
Yes.
black. Were you going to Hot Topic to get like a studded dog collar or a sweatband, black wrist guard thing?
I wasn't so much into that. Like I wore, band t-shirts. I had a studded Hot Topic belt, classic.
Chain
Hell
wallet?
yeah.
Not a chain wallet, just
Okay.
a studded belt, but I had, Converse, Vans, those are my shoes, of course, skinny jeans, very popular in that era.
Mhm.
And so that's but then I got into sort of more like hardcore, like metalcore and different,
Screamo.
subgenres. Yeah, screamo, the normies might call it. A lot of different subgenres within that.
Right.
Well,
sort
okay.
of thing.
So,
Yeah.
Mike, tell me about your look, since I didn't obviously know you in high school. Now, again, your favorite band of all time. You basically are a member of the Black Parade.
Yes, yes. My Chemical Romance, The Used, I have
Used.
tattoos from both of those bands, and I really was a big emo kid, the V-necks from American Apparel era, with the V-necks
Deep,
were
Absolutely.
big.
like, how deep are we talking?
Not,
Like,
I didn't go
These
super
V's.
deep. I couldn't go all the way, but
Gotta go
a
deep,
moderate
you gotta have
V.
the skinny jeans. And this
Yep,
was
studded
before
belt.
also skinny jeans were really popular that you could buy men's skinny jeans. So in high school, we would literally buy like women's jeans and then like tailor them,
Yes.
sort of to kind of let them out a little bit so they could fit. But man, that was a crazy era.
My best friend
Yep.
Anne was obsessed with the movie Donnie Darko, and I'm sure if I asked her now, she would have said this film as well. But I would borrow her sweatshirts, Jacob, and wear her skinny jeans.
Yeah,
Heck yeah. What a time to be
Horrible.
alive. No, skinny jeans are coming back, I hear. Gen Z was saying no, but word on the street is they're back,
Ben
baby.
Alpha.
I think they're back to Jankos. I think they're back to baggy. Are skinny jeans back?
I know sort of mom jeans became popular with women for a while. I think that's still the case, and skinny jeans were out. But as a millennial, skinny jeans never really left for me. I just went from super skinny to slim. You know,
I'm gonna have my low cut socks and my skinny jeans. You can't take them away from me, right? Yeah.
I learned how to dress 10 years ago, and I will not stop what I chose. So
this is how Gen X must have felt in the 2000s, right? I'm not changing my style. Yeah.
No, we got to bring back the long sleeve under the t-shirt. You know.
Oh boy, a black and white striped
hole in the sleeve for the thumb,
with
holes
the
in the sleeves.
Absolutely.
And I definitely knew people that did own a lot of like a Jack Skellington beanie or a sweatshirt, with Jack Skellington on it. Like that was really a big thing, and they all, were sold at Hot Topic. But
it became people's entire identity was the Nightmare Before Christmas core. Like it changed Hot Topic forever. This movie, Yeah.
And not even Sally. It was primarily just Jack Skellington. Like that's
such an iconic look. He's a skeleton guy, and he's like a little skinny, thin, tall, slender guy. So it matches the aesthetic of emo and all that.
Yeah, Slender Man before Slender Man.
Oh yeah.
And Blink-182, I think, was a huge thing. Where when they sang about it in that song, people were like, "Oh shit!" And it became like a cult hit. Not because of that, but I think that was a big contributor to it. So.
Yeah, it just shows how much cultural impact this movie had. Like it literally changed Hot Topic. Like it became the identity of Hot Topic almost, like the unofficial mascot.
Now, when was the last time you guys were in a Hot Topic?
Oh, probably a long time ago. I mean, I know it's different now. I'm sure there's a lot more anime stuff. Anime kind of had an explosion post our high school era. Dragon Ball Z, all that stuff, Naruto. Still probably a lot of band tees and stuff, but different band. I mean, the bands that we liked in high school are considered, classic rock at this point almost.
They got like the Front Bottoms and Hot Mulligan probably in there now.
Right.
I remember when they first got like Duran Gray and J-Rock stuff, and then they turned the lights on. They used to have the lights turned off, kids. If you don't know, it used to be dark in there.
Dark in there. They're just playing loud music all the time.
Yeah. Spencer's Gifts used to just be lit by blacklight. Hot Topic literally used to just be dark. Like you would go in and be like, I can't see anything.
Well, you go to the mall with your friends. Black.
Yeah. There'd be like your Aeropostals and stuff that I wouldn't go to. Those were for the preppy kids. Abercrombie, no way, no thank you. We're cool emo kids. We're gonna wear our black clothes and be depressed.
I'm gonna go brew to Denny's.
In my school that was like rugby shirts with the collars popped up from Abercrombie and Fitch,
like 3 buttons.
The clothes we just listed off, like wearing girls' clothes, like that that used to just be the two types, basically.
Yeah, I did dye my hair black for most of high school. I straightened my hair.
Hair straighteners.
It was long.
I used to straighten my hair.
Same. Yeah. Wow.
Guys.
Wow.
What are we doing?
Takes me back. Yeah.
I'm okay with like admitting to piracy, but admitting to the skinny jeans and the flat iron, that's a bridge too far. Yeah. I'm indicting myself. No, I embrace it. It was never a phase. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, Mike, you're still into like a lot of those bands, and more than a lot of people I know, like you listen to 2000s pop punk and emo and that kind of thing.
You still go to, what was the name of that fest that was like
Kids of
Young
or something?
Fest.
I went to when we were young. Yeah. Emo Coachella.
When we were young.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to Emo Coachella.
Average age of people there was probably 30,
40. Oh, at this point, dude.
There were Facebook groups that were like, what's the best orthopedic insole for my Vans? I'm like, guys, we got to stop.
Dog.
Yeah. But Warped Tour, I mean, I used to go to Warped Tour all the time
Yeah.
in Cleveland. You would see Paramore, all those bands.
Love Paramore.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe
Paramore
used to go
still
to a
doing
Warped
its thing.
Tour all the time. I never went. I never went to Warped Tour, so I
Wow.
never went that far.
Wow. Well, it's coming back. It's overpriced, but you know.
I don't know.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
But
No,
if
it's
Avril
they don't
Lavigne's not
understand.
there, I don't want to hear it.
Right, right.
Well, that's the interesting thing, is that there has been a revitalization of this kind of music now with Machine Gun Kelly, who I don't like, but he has kind of brought back pop punk
Mhm.
for the younger generation. And also Will Smith's daughter, makes that kind of music, which is crazy. So
Really?
Bring me.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was
Um,
gonna say, Bring Me the Horizon does a lot of work with young artists too, and like
Yeah.
they're like putting Youngblood as like one of the new up and coming artists too in that space.
Youngblood,
out
yes,
of
I've heard of-
England.
What?
Yeah.
What was the band that goes, haven't you people ever heard of closing the goddamn
Panic at the
door?"
Disco.
Panic
Oh,
at the
thank you,
Disco.
buddy. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, they became
Classic
super
album.
like poppy and mainstream, but also Fall Out Boy, of course, was
Oh,
huge.
of course. Of
Mhm.
course.
And they're doing their thing.
They're doing their thing. Blink-182 reunited. They're kind of doing their nostalgia tour.
Travis is too busy like trying to find aliens. I don't
Yeah.
know what's going
Tom
on.
DeLonge. Yeah, Tom
Tom
DeLonge
DeLonge
left
is
the band
like,
for a
the
bit.
government admitted it. I told you
Yeah.
guys.
It's Tom, yeah. Travis Barker's like surviving plane crashes and marrying
Yes.
a Kardashian. Like Jacob
Yeah.
said.
Travis Barker. So obviously, I was a huge fan of Travis Barker when I was in high school because I was a drummer. So obviously, he was a huge influence to me. But it's crazy to me that he is by far the most successful member of Blink-182 today, because he works with all these different artists.
Yeah.
He, of course, is married to a Kardashian, so he's still like relevant to current celebrities, which is just crazy to me. And yeah, Tom DeLonge left the band for a little bit. They had Matt Skiba from Alkaline Trio, the guitarist, for a while. Then they reunited with the original lineup, and they were playing a Vegas residency for a while. So they're in that era of their
All
career.
sucks.
Yeah.
Was Travis Barker married to Pink for a bit?
I think they were dating. I don't know if
No.
they got married.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just know he married Shanna Mokler for a while and had 2 kids who became TikTok people.
Their names
and-
Jack and Sally.
Oh
No,
wow.
I wish. Their names are Landon and Alabama Barker.
How do you know all of this?
Well, through previous employment, I worked with a lot of TikTok influencers and stuff, and they
And
came
the
into the studio.
Blink-182
once.
Historical Society. you know.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really strange because he has kids that are like in their late teens or early 20s now, and they're, all these members of Blink-182 are almost 50 at this point. It's just
Are
like, man,
the kids covered in tattoos?
I think they're still too young for that, but maybe
Okay.
they will be one day.
Eventually.
But yeah, it's amazing that Travis Barker has remained relevant for so long. And just look at it, like his credits and stuff. He works with like a lot of rappers, a lot of different artists. He just plays drums on different tracks and stuff, and he's very influential.
The
to
Soulja Boy
today's kids. Yeah,
crossover was one of those. But yeah, good on him. But wow.
yeah. So anyway, Blink-182. That's a whole tangent, but
What a journey though to go, like, look at the era when we get the Nightmare Before Christmas, creating kind of the visual. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. That's a time capsule, baby.
And it's not hard to see why this became such a beloved cult classic, really, because the aesthetic is there, like the quality of the puppetry and everything is incredible, and it's just a world that you can kind of see, you can live in and like expand on in your mind. So it's
Like
super
if you were an artsy, got into music, emo kind of kid, felt like you're on the outskirts, like this is a movie that artsy people like because of the craft. Like it was perfect, purpose made, and it's like spooky but Christmas. It's kind of alternative in that way, but like, oh, you like the scary Christmas movie? Like it's a perfect storm for kind of that.
yeah.
That
And there's some stuff in there
Never
that's like
bad.
yeah.
there's some stuff in there that's definitely like for younger kids. It's like a little questionable that they should be introduced to some of these things, which is perfect if you're a young kid and you want to watch something that's like, oh, I'm too young to be watching this, but I like it.
Yeah. But I guess we could jump into it. I mean, what's my age again? You know, we're only getting older as we reminisce about days gone by and A
God.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
We're back here on Normies Like Us, where we are talking Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas as we continue our holiday coverage, which is exactly why we're doing this. It's the holiday season, not the spooky season, but again, we talked so much Tim Burton. It made sense for us to talk about this. And of course, the little scarecrow outfit we're wearing is burning off us. We're rising slowly out of a well, big smile on our face, because we are the podcast kings.
The podcast
That's
kings.
Kings. That's right. It's time to get spooky. Great expression.
Wow, it's just, you gotta watch this one, folks, just for what Jacob just did.
Trying to do the Jack Skellington.
Yes.
Stretch my mouth out, make a scary face.
So, do you guys know much about the production of this movie?
A little bit.
Workflow
I know a
for
little
this
bit
in
about the
general?
history in that, because obviously, let's say the number one thing right away, everybody says, because it was marketed and because literally the title of this film is Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, they say, oh, well, that's that movie directed by Tim Burton. No, he's a producer on this film. Henry Selick and him went to Cal Arts, California Institute of the Arts, which was, of course, developed by Walt Disney as a pipeline to create young animators that he would eventually absorb into his Disney company. And they both worked on the film The Fox and the Hound, which seems to just be this sort of movie that made every person like lose their mind. And Henry Selick was like, fuck this, I'm out of here. And he kind of inspired Tim Burton to give up on that whole pipeline as well. But whereas Henry Selick went off and did his own thing, got some money from AFI to make some shorts, as we've spoken about before, Tim Burton stayed in-house and basically just complained and said, I don't feel like I fit in here. Who does that sound like? I need a new avenue. And Disney gave him money to create live action shorts. We talked about Vincent. We talked about Frankenweenie. And eventually, after some great success, they came to him and said, what else do you want to do? And exactly like Mike said, he said, I want to do a Christmas special that's kind of in the vein of one of those old-timey Rankin Bass ones. And they said, okay, well, do you have an idea? And he said, I have this drawing. And he held up this little sketch of a poem that he did, and sort of in the suburbia of its day, or disturbia of its day, right? You can just see how he took like, well, don't you see? You could kind of take one word here and twist it. And it's not night before Christmas. It's in fact nightmare before Christmas. Wah!
Yeah.
Right. Right. And Tim Burton, he didn't, I mean, you might think, oh, he came up with the idea, he wrote the screenplay. Didn't write the screenplay. He has a story credit and he's a producer, but he did not direct or write this movie.
Henry Selick claims they had two meetings, one for pre-production and one before it was released. And when Henry Selick was told that the name of this film would be Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas, they kind of had a huge falling out, and it really hurt him.
Yeah, I wonder how like that was. I guess that was part of the deal with Tim Burton. Obviously, we talked about Tim Burton. He's great at marketing himself as a product, basically. So of course he would want his name on this. But yeah, I think he was never there. Like he may have came out once for production for like a couple days, but he was not really there when they were shooting this. So yeah, Henry Selick definitely does not get enough credit for this, or of course, but he has his other movies that he's done since, so maybe he has more credit now, but he's still not a household name like Tim Burton is, of course.
And the closest that Tim kind of ever coming back to this avenue is Corpse Bride, before he eventually goes on to do it with Frankenweenie as well, the remake. But I've heard some talk that same thing, honestly. Corpse Bride, like 2 meetings with the animators, and that's it. Like but he got a director credit on that, which a lot of people say, should he have?
That's interesting. I always thought it was like that was like his movie. He's like, see, I can make one of these without Henry Selick. And then Henry Selick had Coraline kind of in the same era, so it was kind of like Coraline versus the Corpse Bride, and I think Coraline kind of wins that argument.
Oh man, yeah, easily. Coraline's goated.
But of course, this movie, the voice cast, there's a lot of Tim Burton regulars, like Glenn Shaddix from Beetlejuice, Paul Rubens, of course. So he definitely had some influence with that sort of thing.
Pee-wee
Yeah.
was such a big hit, and Edward Scissorhands was such a big hit. That's obviously what made Disney say, okay, we'll stay in the fold. We'll put your name on this. And to go back to what Jacob said about the screenplay and just his other collaborators, so he holds up that little drawing and says, I kind of have this poem, this little thing, Nightmare Before Christmas. Look at this skeleton man I've drawn. That's it. Honestly, where the screenplay comes from is him taking that drawing to his longtime friend, Danny Elfman, who writes a bunch of songs, and those songs, they go, well, we should write lines around this. So the songs came first, then the screenplay. So think about that too.
Yeah, I thought
Right.
that was cool about the pipeline that this kind of started with the music and the songs, because there are so many songs in this, and I was trying to pull quotes for the intros and stuff, and it's like there's really not a lot of dialogue going on outside of the songs.
Nope.
I was like kind of shocked.
It's a musical.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
100%.
definitely a musical, and it's a good time to talk about it. Maybe, of course, musicals maybe are kind of coming back with Wicked. But yeah, musicals. I like musicals, and
I do
a
too.
well
They
done
should
musical.
put this on Broadway.
Yeah, I would.
That'd be great.
Yeah, they had like Charlie Brown on Broadway and stuff. They could definitely do a live action version of this. Maybe they did, and I don't know about it. But and of course, Tim Burton was making like short films like Frank and Weenie and Vincent at the time. I think that's when he had the idea for this, and he was originally going to make it a short, and then it kind of got expanded to an hour and a half or whatever.
Well, I think it's like, I just find it fascinating the workflow of something like this. And I don't know if this is how generally all stop motion is done, but yeah, they had the music first, and then they recorded all the lyrics, and then they would do storyboards for every frame of the movie, and then they recorded the dialogue, and they basically cut the whole movie with the storyboards before they even begin like animating any of the puppets.
I think that's the best workflow for a stop motion or any kind of animation like this, where you want to do it all first, or at least have an idea of what it's going to look like before you record the dialogue, because then you can make the dialogue match the imagery.
Right.
And with this, so Danny Elfman, of course, wrote all the songs and sang Jack's parts. And they actually cast, I don't know if you guys know this, Chris Sarandon to be the speaking voice of Jack, based on they wanted someone who sounded similar to Danny Elfman's singing voice. So they actually cast, Danny Elfman was cast before Chris Sarandon, basically.
And talk about another huge falling out. Danny Elfman devastated to not just be playing Jack Skellington. He got in a huge fight with Tim Burton, who I believe passed on the buck to say, well, that wasn't my decision. That was Henry Selick's, which is like...
I wonder why they did that. Maybe they just didn't think that he could pull off the speaking lines, but there's more singing lines almost than speaking lines. So
you're not going to let the elf man do a Christmas movie?
Right.
How dare you?
Danny Elfman, of course, Oingo Boingo, a bunch of stuff. But he said this is one of the easiest jobs he ever had, was writing the songs for this, because it came so naturally to him, and he found it really easy, and he like busted out all these songs like in a couple days. So
do you guys have a favorite? Is this your favorite Danny Elfman, or is it the Simpsons theme? Is it Batman? Is it
a lot to choose from.
Millions of iconic things. The Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my
Simpsons theme song is so iconic, of course.
It's insane.
Yeah. It's insane to do that. And of course he did all his, Oingo Boingo work, of course, as well. I don't know. This is very memorable and iconic as well.
I mean, yeah, I really like What's This? Like, that song is really good.
What's this?
It's probably my favorite song in this movie. But,
yeah. Mine is This Is Halloween. That's interesting. Yeah.
That's a great one too.
Two good ones. Yeah.
But yeah, just real quick on production, like, how do you time songs and stuff? And like, all the puppets, they have like 1,000 different heads for each expression, and they have the timeout to the frame. Like, okay, for the first 3 frames, it's head 280. For the next 2 frames, when its mouth's open, like, they have to do all of this pre-planning. It took them 3 years, start to finish, to make this movie.
So no computers again. Do you think you guys would have ever had the patience to do stop motion? Could you wake up, go to work, move the little mouse like Mike is saying, in just such a way where you go, okay, that was 4 hours of shooting. We got 3 seconds of screen time.
Right.
Good work.
It's crazy how labor intensive it is. And that's, I don't know if I could do it because I don't have the patience for it. But that's why I'm so impressed by it. And whenever you have a feature length stop motion, it's like, yeah, this must have taken years to make.
Yeah, they had like several sounds. I watch it behind the scenes because I think that's what's most fascinating watching this. It's like, how did they do this? And it's like,
Yeah.
they would have multiple units shooting at the same time in different stages. They would have different people animating different scenes at the same time, and it's pretty much just the animator. Then he presses a button, then he moves all the
Right.
guys again. So like that's how you shoot this. They did do motion control. Like the guy had this like looked like a DIY made motion control rig, which before that you would just have it static because you can't really move the camera, but with the motion control they could then move it one step at a time and do these tracking shots.
Sure.
And that's such an important thing to point out too, Mike. It's not just the invention of digital. It's that cameras have gotten so much smaller and smaller and smaller. And when I say digital, I mean digital effects, CGI. Most stop motion films now are shot with like 5DXs or like DSLRs, which are these basically listeners think about like a still camera body that you're shooting basically pictures and put. It's almost like a flip book, right? Now, Mike, when you're talking about motion control, you're talking about a film camera that is so loud and so big that when you imagine those things too shooting these little miniatures, I mean, again, it is fucking astounding that people pull this off.
And that they gave him a budget and said, take 3 years. Like this would not like only Leica is like keeping this alive right now. It's insane to do. It is insane to make this.
Right, and it's a huge investment of money too. For you're not sure if it's going to do well in theaters because now Moana 2 will just like break records because kids want to go see Moana, and it's like that probably took 1/10 of the work that something like this took to make.
Yeah, 100%.
Not to disparage like CG animators or anything, of course. There's obviously a lot of really good CG.
Yeah,
animators.
I like the Pixar stuff. I didn't see Inside Out 2, but obviously that was a big blockbuster as well this year. Jacob doing tons of box office stuff, but I don't know how you make your money back if it's not tied to a holiday because Disney releases this film twice a year at Halloween and Christmas, puts it in theaters, and people go, and it makes so much money. We talked about the merchandising at fucking Hot Topic. They make so much money. So when you think about that as an investment of 3 years, it's like, yeah, that's paltry. That doesn't make, like, who cares? But again, the box trolls or like Kubo and the Two Strings, it's
Wendell
like
and Wild.
you're not
movies,
getting
they don't
that
make any
same.
money.
Yeah, it's like
no.
And this movie's probably made Disney so much money through merch, through just the characters,
truly like
and
$1
things.
billion. I guarantee
I mean, these characters have been in Kingdom Hearts. So as much as like Mickey or any of these other characters, like Jack Skellington is a Disney prince, if you will. He's the king of Pumpkin King.
He's a king, yes.
Yes.
But you don't think of it as a Disney property. At least I don't really, but it is, and it's probably made him a ton of money.
Yeah, I guess the full title technically is Disney's Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Disney presents Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah.
Right.
Crazy. When I'm looking for logos for the artwork, when I saw that one, and it's like, oh, this is getting messy now. Disney presents Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, Jack Skellington has thousands of different heads. Just think of what it takes to make like the Oogie Boogie Man when they take off his like sack and he's just full of bugs and stuff. Like what that must have been like to animate. Like
why would you do that, Henry? Like what a choice.
Right. Like when he crashes the sleigh in the Santa suit and he has the tassels hanging down and he's whipping around and the tassels are like moving fluidly. I'm like, how did you do this? You guys are crazy.
Now, I know there are a couple shots in this that literally Henry Selick devised just to keep their sanity that are truly live action shots. When Sally pulls the spoon up and the liquid falls through the holes.
Spoon.
That is real. That is that's not stop motion, which is, I'm sure he was like, look, anything we can do to cut a day off of this 3-year work schedule.
Yeah. And they do some creative choices sometimes, like with shadows of silhouettes of characters and things like that they don't want to make a full puppet for or something. But man, yeah, they do cut some corners in creative ways for sure.
I think the police officer's head being behind the police lamp
Right,
is a
yeah.
very clear, like,
I
we don't want to
noticed
do this
that.
face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or most of the kids actually on Christmas opening the presents, it's like you just hear voices off screen and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like, it's like, come on, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just an impressive undertaking. It's just when you
Absolutely.
see it all take shape, it's just I can't help but be in awe that this even exists at the level of technical like execution, and it just
Yeah.
plays so well. So,
Yeah.
but I guess story wise now,
Yeah,
you
let's
know?
go through the plot a little bit. Because I mainly want to talk about the main character and all the others. And as Mike said, little guys. This is a film full of little guys. And I'm
Over
curious to
60
hear what-
individual
All
little
your
guys.
favorite little
That's
creepy guys. You got all
insane.
your Halloween Town people.
Mhm.
The mayor of Halloween Town with his two faces. We love him.
It's because we open on the Halloween Eve, like it's the last night of Halloween, and they're finishing their little song, and like, all right, good job,
Yeah.
everybody. And this is where we kind of meet all
The
of our
end of Halloween. That's why
people.
this is a Christmas movie, not a Halloween movie, because it's
definitive
Halloween just
Halloween.
ended at the beginning of this movie. They're like, that was another great Halloween. Let's get ready for
Assumption
next
that
year.
was Halloween.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pack it up, everybody. Good work. You know.
Yeah, and then we meet our main character, Jack Skellington, who's
But the
kind
way-
of
but-
become
What a
the
reveal!
way that they build him up, where
Yes.
literally every character in this town is so big and so bombastic, and then the shift of, and there's actually this guy who's running it all, where they sort of like start to whisper to you, where they're like, and we love him, and he's this guy, and he's the king of pumpkins, and in fact, he is the Pumpkin King, and the big reveal. I mean, you said before, he's one of the coolest looking characters. I'll throw this out. Jack Skellington, one of the sexiest characters ever put on screen. I mean, this
Well,
guy
that's-
has swagger for days.
Absolutely, and that's I think a big reason why it was so popular is because people are like, "Oh, I like that Jack Skellington. He's got charisma. I'm into him." You know, like Sally is into him, of course.
Well, the whole town
And-
is glazing him in the beginning, like, Jack, you're so fucking awesome.
Jack's
oh my
the best,
god.
man.
He did it.
Yeah.
And we're all happy in this town, they keep saying, because he keeps us on track. And they're clearly setting up that, this man controls our happiness. Surely he must be happy as well. And we learn that he's not.
Yeah.
And again, it's so weird on what you credit him for, because we just said Tim Burton didn't direct this, he didn't write this, but he's maybe the most Tim Burton character
Yeah.
outside of Edward
Well, that's the thing.
Scissorhands.
It is so Tim Burton-esque. Like everything about it, it's like, yeah, this is kind of Tim Burton's wheelhouse. and
You're a
this character
talented
is so
genius.
Tim
Why
Burton.
aren't you happy? Well,
Yeah.
because I'm grew up in the suburbs of Burbank and I'm weird. And it's like, right, but like everyone around you loves you and keeps telling you that you're like the best person on the planet. He's like, no, but that's not enough. I have to
Yeah.
also try my hand at something else.
And he
Jack
also,
has sort of become, he's in a rut in life where he's just kind of repeating the same thing year after year, and he's kind of like, I want to do something different. I need a new feeling. Like I've become stagnant, right?
yeah, he's having a post-life crisis. But it is very Tim
Yeah.
Burton in that, yeah, he's the best at what he does. He gets witches, and he still isn't happy, you know? So,
Everyone in this town loves him. He's the most popular guy. I was always confused about the power structure of this town because you have the mayor of the town, but he's not in charge of Halloween.
No.
Jack is. And
The
they also have the
king
Oogie
is.
Boogie,
There's a
who's
mayor
like the
and a
driver.
king, and yes, and
Yeah.
like the devil, I guess.
the mayor runs the day-to-day, everyday but Halloween, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
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 What is
but
Oogie
I-
Boogie's function? He's just a weird guy that lives in the sewer. We don't talk. He
yeah,
owns the casino.
and Jack doesn't like him. They kind of like hate each other, but they're both Halloween
Well,
guys.
A
Yeah.
big leap ahead, I guess, and a spoiler, I guess. But
Yeah.
did you guys know there's an original ending? The reveal is that Oogie Boogie is not a bunch of bugs in that outfit. It's actually Sally's weird dad, the doctor in the wheelchair, who's like, "Oh, I was just kind of doing this as like a test and to like prank you all." And Henry Selick was
Oh.
like, "No, we're not doing that.
Yeah,
I like
I
that.
got this bug idea." And you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh."
I
Again,
just like that he's sort of this chaotic devil character who's there.
He's too scary. He's the
he's
guy who's
scariest part.
too
Yeah.
right wing. Yes, where you're like,
Right.
well, we're all, we all agree this is how it should be. And he's like, yeah, and we should kill everybody. And they're like, well, we'll just put you down here.
Right. Well, he's like the
Yeah.
only evil character because
Yes.
Jack is like the Halloween king, but he's also like a good guy deep down. Like he just likes creepy, spooky stuff. But they're all like everyone in Halloween Town, they're not really sinister. They're just like they have a creepy aesthetic, but at the end of the day,
They
they're
just
like
like to spook.
nice people.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They specifically sing that they are nice.
We're
We
not
are
mean.
nice. We're not
Yeah.
mean.
In our town of Halloween, yeah. We're
Except
just,
for
That's
Oogie
like,
Boogie and his
oh,
three
okay.
little children minions.
the
Yeah.
kids I feel like you could influence them towards good. They're on the
Yeah,
cusp.
they're just kids, is what
Right.
I think that they're rowdy or they're
Little
pranksters.
mischievous kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just gotta.
But then
give
you have
them
the Oogie
talking
Boogie
to.
like psychologically torturing Santa Claus and stuff. And it's like, man,
Yeah, it gets kind of wild. Again, the songs came first, so whatever the plot's a little.
right.
But for a
And
kids
then you have
movie, yeah.
Sally, who's such an interesting character too, because she's a sort of a Frankenstein's monster. Was created by this Frankenstein-esque character, Doctor whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And she's like this sewed up. She's I think made from like parts of dead bodies and like sewn together
I would
and
assume.
reanimated, right? So she really is a Frankenstein brought to life by this guy.
She's like full of leaves almost, so it's like the skin or something. And
Yeah,
but
yeah,
even
she's
animating
full
the
of
leaves falling out when she pulls her arm. But yeah, so she's kind of this.
Yeah.
But
Shell.
he takes his brain out for the other one that he's making, basically his wife. Do we assume that maybe even Sally has some of his brain as well, right? And that's probably how she came into
Maybe
existence?
because he created her, he said, right? So
Yeah.
she wasn't
Mhm.
a person before this, but he kind of like sewed dead body parts together and stuffed them with leaves and made a sentient being somehow.
And she's not melancholy like Jack. She just is full of longing. She,
Yeah.
for someone without a soul or isn't alive,
Mhm.
she's the person who's most alive, most wanting, and kind of fulfills that Disney princess role of the "I want" song. And that scene where
Pining
she
for
just kind
Jack
of
Skellington.
falls out the window and falls into 1,000 pieces. Like Jacob, again, when you're talking about like seeing stuff when you're too young, I remember being like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
And she kind of is the manic pixie dream girl of Jack, and again of Tim Burton, like Tim Burton's archetype, totally,
Yeah.
in a very interesting way. But that's the other surprising thing about this movie is it's such a romantic movie. Like at the end of the day, it's a romance
Really?
story about Jack finding. He was looking for like he felt like something was missing in his life, and he thought Christmas
Love.
could fill that void. And then he realized at the end, oh, it's Sally. It's my love for Sally that fills
Yeah.
that void. So
And she's really
It's a
like
love
the
story.
conscience. Yeah, because she's always trying to walk him back. Like, Jack, this isn't a good idea. Doing this Christmas thing, you should probably not do it. Like, she's trying to like guide him, morally. And
Yeah.
he's just obsessed.
This is Catherine O'Hara from Beetlejuice, and from
Mhm.
Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, obviously, he's still working with her. Comedy legend. Does Sally have any songs? She doesn't really, does she?
She has the longing song, right?
Oh, she does have the long.
yeah, and she sort of has like a duet with Jack, like at the end, I think,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
where they finally
Yeah.
get together on that
She's kind of
spirally
psychic.
hill.
The Spirally Hills, boy,
Yeah.
talk about iconic. Talk about Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
She's one of the only characters that basically wears color in this. Obviously, you see like the red ribbon on the mare and stuff, but most of it is monochromatic grays, whites, and blacks, right? But her patchwork suit of different patterns, different colors, I mean, she very much even stands out amongst these little goblins and ghouls.
Yeah,
Yeah. Another really
And she
iconic
kinda
design.
wants to-
Yeah.
And I feel like not only is she in love with Jack, but she wants to. It's almost like a Pinocchio situation where she wants to be a real person because she was
Yes.
created, and she doesn't feel like she's a part of the town. She kind of has to sneak out to join the town meeting and things like that because she has to poison Dr. Frankenstein guy so that she can sneak out. And she wants to be part of the town, wants to be part of the community.
Yeah, she's kind of caged bird. Like, he doesn't want
Yeah.
her. He's like, oh, you're not ready for this much excitement. Stay in the house, kind of thing. So yeah, she just wants to have freedom and self-actualize.
Yeah, kind
Yeah.
of Sweeney Todd-esque, the young lady that's trapped in a tower in that Tim
Yeah.
Burton adaptation.
And also, she does
I know.
gags that Monica Bellucci will do in Beetlejuice.
She does. She puts herself together. Obviously, again, she looks so much like his former partner, whose name I cannot remember. Insane woman from Mars Attacks.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Lisa Marie.
Lisa
Lisa
Marie.
Marie.
Thank you, Mike.
That's right.
Yeah. Look at his
Yeah.
archetype, his weird
Mhm.
fetish for stitched together ladies, like Catwoman's suit in Batman Returns.
Mhm.
Seems to be a recurring theme with him, which is strange, but
I want to stitch a woman together. You're like, all right, well, let's
all
get
right.
you to focus on
There might
art.
be a pseudo
Just-
for it.
It's
Right.
like his parents pulled a real Dexter situation. They're like, let's put all that energy into something else.
You ever hear of Cal Arts, Tim? You want to go to Cal
Yeah.
Arts? Yeah.
Another interesting, I didn't know this, but I guess Tim Burton wanted his favorite actor, Vincent Price, to do the narration for this. There's going to be like an opening narration. Eventually, Patrick Stewart recorded some opening narration and closing narration that wasn't actually included in the movie for some reason.
It's on an
So-
album. I've never heard it before. Have you
Yeah.
guys?
No, but I was
never.
like, oh, Patrick Stewart, that's crazy. So
The Skeleton
yeah,
King. Yeah.
Number one, go to Halloween Town.
He loved
Oh,
Christmas, so yeah.
I love that.
But yeah, Jack is unfulfilled, post-life crisis, and Sally sees that this guy when he's walking on the curly hill, she's like, oh, he's got some pain he's carrying because he thinks he's alone when he sings his song. She's like, oh, poor Jack, everyone
He's
thinks
just
he's
a
so
tortured
cool.
genius. Yeah, and I'm in
Yeah.
love with him.
Yeah, so he's wandering
Yeah,
the
he
woods.
kind of goes on a walk after Halloween. He's like, man, why? I have everything that my life should have. Why do I feel this way? And then he just stumbles upon this weird area of the woods that has all these trees with doors on them, and each door has a different holiday, right?
Yep.
And it's the entrances to all the different holiday lands.
There's a Christmas tree. There's an Easter egg. There's, I believe,
Thanksgiving.
a four-leaf clover.
I
Is there?
believe,
What is
yes.
it?
There's
A
like
turkey?
yeah. Which I want to know what Thanksgiving land looks like, because what is
I
Thanksgiving?
assume
looking
pretty
thing? Just
racist.
food, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Probably some Native American
Yeah.
and
Changing
pilgrim
of
stuff going
blankets,
on.
I don't like it at all.
We see the Easter Bunny. I mean,
Yes.
the lock, stock, and barrel go out to. Well, we'll
They
get
kidnap
Santa
the wrong
Claus.
person.
They
Yeah,
pull out the
Wrong
giant
door.
pink rabbit, which is such a great moment later in the film. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and Jack just addresses it like, "I'm so sorry, sir." And this rabbit looks so aloof. Like I don't know if it's
apologize.
sentient.
He kind of seems to know who the kings of each domain are, like automatically. And he's like, well, of course, you're the lord of your town, a giant rabbit.
Yeah. But well, it's interesting because he also, like, when he just stumbles upon Christmas land, he's kind of like amazed at all. Like, he's never seen all this stuff before. But yeah, he does seem to know something about it. But who is the king of Thanksgiving land? Again, probably a racist answer.
Or a pilgrim, like a
It's like whoever was
fucking
leading
murderer.
whatever that pilgrim boat was. I can't remember the name of
The
it.
first-
Mayflower. Whoever was the captain of the
Thanksgiving.
Mayflower.
Yeah, or that
Yeah.
guy that they hired to like take them. Remember South Park did that episode where it was like the Thor universe, but instead it's pilgrims, and it's whatever that guy's name was who was like the bodyguard who was hired by the pilgrims. I'm sure it's that guy.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know.
could be. But
John Smith.
There we
I
go.
don't know.
And then what about Four-Leaf Cloverland? Just the leprchaun? Just
I would assume
generally?
that one's not as bad. I would
Leprechaun.
assume much like Christmas
Anti-Irish
Town.
racism. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but I don't think they're humans. I think you would go there and it would just all be
the
leprechauns.
little leprechaun guys.
Okay,
Yeah.
and this it would just be rows of clovers. You'd have to imagine.
pots
Yeah.
of gold and stuff.
Yeah,
Lots of-
rainbows and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I did always want to see the other lands, because that
Yeah.
forest setting, it's like, man, yeah, what is? Because we're having the conversation right now. Like you do always wonder. It's a pretty good setup
Right.
to include
That's-
more than just one.
Yeah, but if you think about it, it's like Halloween and Christmas are kind of the two main holidays that have like things themed about them, right?
Right. Where's
So
4th
it's
of
like-
July door? Yeah.
Yeah. 4th of July door.
Boy,
and he had,
that
like,
one would be hard too. I don't know.
Well, it's Uncle Sam is the leader, and it's a
Yeah.
lot of
yeah,
hot
any of the
dogs.
ones
Labor
tied to
Day,
history,
Memorial
just like
Day.
or Groundhog
Groundhog
you guys
Day.
said in the last
Groundhog's
episode.
Day.
Yeah, what would it? It's
Bill
Murray
Murray's
in
back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that's Bill Murray's universe. Yeah.
It's repeating
man.
the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bucks a ton
But yeah,
of
Jack
fun.
kind of stumbles into Christmas land and he's amazed by what he sees. He sings the great song, "What's this? What's this?
Mhm.
There's snow everywhere." Whatever.
The
Something
kids are
in the
throwing
air.
snowballs instead of throwing heads, you know? He's like, whoa, this is so different.
The part where
Yeah.
it just becomes sort of like da 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 da, you know, where it like really speeds up as he's doing it. Like this fucking Danny Elfman is just going off, dude. Like it's
Yeah.
you do feel like again where you're like, yeah, of course the music came first because it's brilliant.
Yeah.
The plot really is all the music because he goes from wonderment to like desire, like extreme desire to like, I want it all, you know, and that's how it builds up. And it's like, yeah, man, good job, Danny Elfman, the GOAT.
Absolutely. So he comes back to Halloween Town. The townspeople are all worried about him. They're like, "What happened to Jack? Where's Jack?" And
Oh, yeah.
he's like, "Let me tell you about this new thing I found. It's called Christmas. It's going to be amazing. We're going to do that this year."
Yep. and
Um,
then you get a lot of fun gags with him misunderstanding things, Sandy Claus, and, you know,
Sandy
figuring
Claus,
out what
yeah.
the purpose of all the Christmas decorations are. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like his heart is in the right place again. Like the whole time, like he just wants to do a good job on Christmas, but they fundamentally don't understand what makes it Christmas. So they have all their own weird, creepy spin on Christmas in such a, interesting way.
Yeah, shrunken heads as gifts and stuff because they're like, what?
Yeah.
I would like that as, you know, they do it a little bit creepy style, you know, but they don't.
We're doing
mean harm.
Christmas creepy style. That's right.
That's right. Do it the creepy
I'm gonna
way.
rewind just a little bit. I'm gonna say my favorite little guy is the guy in the "This Is Halloween" song who says, "I'm the one under the stairs,
weird.
snakes for fingers and spiders for hair."
yeah, that's a good little
Yeah.
guy.
What is this?
I like the werewolf
see,
in his
we've
little
got,
sweater.
Yeah.
We've got werewolf guy. We've got like the 3 vampires.
Yep.
We've got
Fish
lock,
guy.
lock, shock, and barrel. Of course, we've
Mhm.
got. I like the jazz band that just plays on the street
Oh
corner
my
all
gosh.
the time.
Yeah.
Those guys
When
are cool.
When he sneaks away and they're just diegetically playing a sad version of "This Is
Yes.
Halloween,"
Yes.
brilliant.
That's
Perfect.
very good. And the mayor just keeps saying, Jack needs to come back. It's 364
Yeah, we gotta
days for
start
Halloween.
planning
We're
for next
behind
year."
schedule. Like, oh,
Yeah.
What do
boy.
you have to plan for? Like, what is
Yeah,
going to be
do you-
different
you
about?
all just like go loose, right? Like you just like go like terrorize people, right?
Yeah.
You don't take the day off even one, you know, come on. Just
Oh.
And what do we think about the mayor? Again, he's 2 heads. He's got a happy head, a sad head. They can
This-
switch.
You know, and Jacob, you said it was Glenn Shattuck's regular
Yeah.
of Tim Burton's, obviously his biggest role, Beetlejuice.
Right.
I did not know that. And watching it this time, I think this is one of the best performances he's ever given. I think Glenn Shattuck's is fucking incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
yeah, I really like the mayor, and I think his two-faced nature is the commentary on the duplicity of politicians.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And he's just like, when he finds out Jack's missing, he's like just immediately sad. He's like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do?" Yeah,
What are we
he's
gonna do
great.
without the Pumpkin King? Yeah, no, he's great. I like when he gets the little spider. He's got his little megaphone, and it's his bow tie, and
it's
he like
his
slaps it
necktie,
back
yeah.
on his.
That's so good.
What a
I don't
nice
drink
touch.
coffee, but one time, a friend of this podcast, Cassie, went to Disneyland and brought me back a souvenir, and it was the mayor as a coffee mug, and on one side was one face, and when you twisted it, it was the other. And I
like that.
loved that coffee mug.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know what
cool.
happened to it. I think it broke eventually, of course.
That's
Bummer.
great.
No, that's great. Shout out to podcasts.
Absolutely.
You know?
So yeah,
So
Jack,
he hires
you know,
Lock, Shock, and Barrel to kidnap Santa, like Colin
kidnap
said. and
Sandy
bring
Claus.
Here's what we're going to do.
We'll give him a day off. I love that exchange too. Like
Make him comfortable.
It's reward.
Yeah. Again, he has good intentions at heart. He's like, "Don't worry about Christmas. We got it this year. You can just take, have a
We're doing him a
vacation."
favor.
Yeah, I love that kind of. And when he's getting his Santa suit made, he's asking Sally, like, "Here's my Santa Claus outfit. Can you sew this together? You're the best seamstress in town." She's like, "I don't think this is a good idea." He's like, "No, you'll be fine. You're going to do great." Like, he doesn't understand that she's objecting to the whole
Yeah.
Christmas plan. I think that's a fun scene.
Jack's entire energy is no, you're right. It's not a good idea. It's a great idea. Like he's just so driven. And I've seen people point out like, what a fucking asshole. This guy has everything he wants. He's got this malaise. But again, when you're talking about seeing things for the first time as a child, I don't know how many other characters I saw that you were just talking about ennui, like the issue of like satisfaction, which you're like, it's a very human feeling to just. We've all had jobs that we've been at for 1, 2, 5 years, where eventually you go, I don't want to do this anymore because it feels too comfortable.
It's like,
certainly a lot of this went over my head when I was a kid at the time. But yeah, looking back, it's like, this is really, some interesting stuff.
If you do scratch beneath the surface or look under the bed or whatever for the monsters, I mean, like in the very beginning, he is like, oh, great Halloween. We fucking crushed it. Hell yeah, dude. I love you guys. Yeah, finger guns. And then as soon as he turns the corner, he's like, fuck, dude. And it's like that having to kind of pretend that you're feeling better than you are sometimes,
Yeah. And the idea that
myself, you're like, all right,
Yeah.
on the surface, it looks like you have everything you want in life. And that's what's so interesting. Like when you find out like a famous comedian was depressed, like Robin Williams or something. It's like that guy had everything. He was the life of the party, whatever room he walked into, but you never know really what someone's going through. And it's like, yeah, Jack has everything that he could possibly want, you would think, and then he still feels something missing inside of him. It's such a hard thing to explain,
And when you are a kid and you read about those experiences and you see somebody take a dark turn where it's like, oh, they had all that money and they were doing drugs, they were drinking, doing all this stuff. It's so easy for you to say, well, that's crazy. If I had all that, I would always be happy. And it's just not the truth, because again, it's the thing about satisfaction and just about filling the hole inside you with anything, basically.
Yeah,
that's what so many people try to do.
And I think when Sally sees him, she's kind of watching him be like, she's the first person to actually see Jack, how Jack really feels. Like she's the first person to see him completely, and that's where the romance kind of angle.
Yes.
And she's trying to save him from himself the whole movie, but he's just so like focused on this Christmas thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is sort of like, it's very presumptuous. It's like, I'm going to kidnap Santa Claus. I'm going to become him and like take over this holiday. And
easy.
It all makes sense. But it's just like, at the end of the day, he's just misguided. Like he's not a bad person. He doesn't understand what he's doing. And then he does realize sort of what he's done by the end of it. He's like, oh, I need to make things right because I really like fucked things up here.
He literally just goes like, oh no.
Well, the military does open fire on him.
But even he's like, oh, they're celebrating. Yeah.
They're celebrating.
Like, whoa, you got a little close there. You almost hit us.
That's great. That's
oh my God, so good. But yeah,
maybe my favorite moment is when Sally sort of has the psychic vision with the snowflake that like sets on fire.
Oh, the Christmas tree.
Or the Christmas tree, yes.
Yeah,
it's like this dandelion that she's doing like
imagery.
He loves me, he loves me not, and then it turns into a Christmas tree, and then it lights on fire. It's like, that's probably a bad omen.
Going on here, yes, it's so wild.
But basically, so yeah, explains to the whole townspeople, it's like, we're gonna put on Christmas. He's trying to explain it. He sends them to, kidnap Sandy Claus. Eventually, they do bring back the right Sandy Claus, and he's like, okay, go take him, make him comfortable. Don't take him to that no account oogie boogie, but whatever else you got to do.
The three kids like,
of course we won't do that.
yeah. You know what we should do, right? You're like, yes.
I mean, they say they're going to, in their song too, they have like a lyric where they're like, yeah, we're going to do the thing and then screw Jack over and give him to Oogie Boogie. Let him take over.
I don't like when they push him down the little pipe thing. That makes me feel so uncomfortable. It seems so tight.
If you fit down a chimney, you can fit down here, though. That's a good line.
Yeah. Well, again, it is like three kids kidnapping an old man and giving him to a boogeyman monster to torture and try to kill.
Yeah.
Which is kind of dark when you think about it. But
he literally has guns. He has little gun robots that are firing bullets at Santa Claus. Yep. It's wild.
Yeah, he's about to drop him into some like boiling, liquid.
As a kid, Santa, like, that's the goat. Santa Claus is the goat. You can't do that to my guy. Like, that's really not cool, Oogie Boogie. Come on, man.
Yeah. There is a little bit of a negative thing I'll say right here, just as an adult. The Oogie Boogie of it all. That character, who's performed by Ken Page, who's a musician,
who passed away sadly just this year in September.
Oh,
African American man.
Yes.
And I've talked a lot about Tim Burton's trouble with black people, black characters. The Oogie Boogie character is sort of the Cab Calloway.
There's a racial connotation for sure.
He definitely, I mean, obviously the association with gambling. He certainly seems like he's a drinker, a partier, things
He's
like that.
Like a voodoo guy.
Soulful, yes. Voodoo, Motown song. Being the villain in this, where literally it's all these pale-skinned, low-skinned characters being like, we need to defeat this guy. You are again like, Tim Burton, what is going on with you? It's so crazy.
It's questionable. I mean, this is a guy that said, black people don't fit his aesthetic, which is why he doesn't cast them very often. It's like, no, I don't think you can say that.
What do you mean they don't? say that a little slower so that I can understand it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was something that did stand out on this watch to me. I was like, ooh, I don't know about that.
It's a great character.
Page
great character, yeah.
As the voice, and he was a Broadway guy, and he was the original Old Deuteronomy in Cats, the musical.
Oh wow!
Oh, what a pull!
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome.
Again, just passed away in September of this past year, 2024.
Is this the number 2 most probably iconic character besides Jack? Like, does he supersede Sally? I think so.
Yeah, I
think so.
As far as
and
iconic
they've
villain.
sort of, in like video games and stuff, they've made him sort of the villain that I think there's a video game like The Return of the Oogie Boogie.
Yep. Let's talk about that a little bit. In the same way that there's these Disney properties that people love, where they want to do a sequel, but then they kind of don't have the courage to, or maybe it's a rights thing where Tim Burton's fighting it. You've got Hocus Pocus, which for a million years had a book that was like Hocus Pocus 2. Now, obviously, we do have a Hocus Pocus 2 now, which throws out all that shit. I don't know why you would ever write one of these books, because the canon's
That's Hocus Pocus Legends now.
Well, the expanded Hocus Pocus universe.
Yeah.
There are 2 follow-ups to this film. A video game, The Revenge of Oogie Boogie, as you guys just mentioned, where you play as Jack. It's a God of War ripoff. Where
it's like a Devil May Cry.
Yes, it absolutely is, Mike. It's sort of an action RPG. I've never played it. I hear it's amazing. There's 2 skins. You can be Jack and then Jack the Pumpkin King.
Is that like Jack a PlayStation 2 game or something?
I believe so, and maybe a GameCube or something like that.
Wow.
And then there is a book that is a sequel / kind of this film, but just telling it from Sally's point of view, which again, I would just have to assume all that canon will just be thrown out one day.
Right. When they make Nightmare Before Christmas 2. Yeah, that's weird that they never did that much with sequels or expanded lore of this world. Like we said, a Broadway show based on this would probably sell like gangbusters.
Yes, it would.
I'm surprised Tim Burton hasn't revisited this after making, Beetlejuice 2 and all this stuff. Beetlejuice, our favorite movie that we all love equally.
Yeah, that's right. I wonder if he's getting there. And of course, Beetlejuice today was nominated for the Golden Globe in Achievement of Box Office. This is a new category that they're doing, which is a Box Office Achievement Trophy, where you go like, what does that mean?
It did surprisingly well commercially. Who thought it was going to do that?
You do not reward people for that. The reward is the money.
Be honest, Colin. You didn't think that this movie was going to do that well.
No, I didn't.
We don't need a best capitalism award.
No, I agree. That
takes away from the art, right? Yeah, the artistry. That's the
point. It's just to reward, your MCUs of the world and things like that for being selling so much tickets.
Thanks for making us so much money.
We're not going to nominate those boring dramas you see. Please, Gen Alpha, watch our dying awards.
Right.
I
think even the Oscars was trying to
Best film moment? You mean The Flash in Justice League?
Right, it was the one that
Nicolas
people could
Cage.
vote
Did
for
one
online.
organically.
Yeah, definitely not the Snyder cultists that pushed that. Yeah, fascinating.
They gave out awards in this movie. The mayor, when Jack sneaks away, I can't remember what the first one was, but it was like...
Yeah, most people beheaded or something, right?
Yeah, most
Starts reading
people
off
beheaded
these,
in one night.
Most blood drained.
Yeah, most blood
Yeah.
drained. It was the vampire award.
And they've got the little umbrellas. I love those vampires.
I love those vampires.
Yeah.
Very iconic. Yeah, their little tiny heads.
But isn't it wild that like Jenna Ortega in Wednesday doesn't have a Jack Skellington action figure?
Oh yeah,
You know,
right.
you would think I don't know, you just think he would do something with it, and he just
Yeah.
seems to be like, no, I'm actually quite happy just making the money that I make every year off of that.
Sure.
Well, again, the effort to make one of these. Like, I wonder if, like, is Disney, if they did want to do it, or Tim Burton, it's like they don't want to spend 3 years. Like, it's too much of a pain in the ass, I think, to do a sequel to this because of the technique. I just don't think they would have interest in doing a in-depth stop motion feature anymore.
Or is there kind of maybe even a shared bitterness in his mind where he's like, no, I don't touch that one because that's Henry Selick's movie. A piece of me does know that I didn't direct that film, and it drives me crazy.
Probably. And Henry Selick probably never wanted to revisit that because he's like, no, I'm doing my own thing. I make Coraline.
Yeah.
You know, I'm making
We should say Henry Selick, the Alan Moore of the stop motion world. He is someone who is extremely angry
Bitter.
every time you talk to him about anything he's ever worked on. So
Sure.
yeah,
He doesn't take up a lot of the documentary. He's not saying much about this process.
No, and when you see him have to say, he always does a deep sigh. Of course, I'm the director of Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas, where you're like, oh boy. And do you guys like Monkey Bone, his one live action offering? I adore that film.
Oh yeah, that had stop motion little monkey guy. Yeah, Brendan Fraser. Yeah, it's fun.
It's horrible.
I haven't seen that.
You know, I love
it's got a weird like underworld thing too. It's kind of I get it.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably bitter about some of his other movies not doing as well as this one. Again, like James the Giant Peach, I think was an equally artistically accomplished movie in the 90s. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't have the cult following of this necessarily, but I mean, it still looked back as on fondly, probably.
It doesn't have a Jack Skellington.
No.
Unfortunately.
No, and that was interesting because it was a mix of, you know, there's live action and different elements and stuff based on the Roald Dahl story. Yeah, check that one out, Normies. It's great.
Well, you love Roald Dahl. You love his politics.
Yeah, I love everything about him. His views on different people.
Jews.
Oh no.
Yeah. But man, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, yeah. So Jack he learns, and then Santa saves the day. We get the cool montage of the presents attacking people and all the chaos. That's a fun little vignette.
That's much it. It's quick. I mean, it's is it 60 minutes? How long?
It's like an hour and 20 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think it's maybe an hour 30, but it does go quick, and it's like, yeah, he goes out on his night, Christmas Eve, delivers the toys and presents and stuff, but they end up scaring and all the children because they're creepy and scary, and they call the police. And then, they mobilize the National Guard to shoot him down and all this stuff. Yeah, he thinks he's having a great time delivering these presents. He's like, you're welcome, everybody.
Welcome to the snakes. We haven't talked about my favorite character. Before he goes out on his journey, he does have a little dog named Zero, who is a little ghost dog. And they say, Jack, you can't possibly. It's too misty because Sally, does some magic to sort of create this thing that she thinks will stop them. This obfuscation of mist.
Yes.
And Zero, of course, has a little Rudolph nose, and he says, Zero, you'll lead my sleigh.
Yep.
And Zero, again, I don't know how they did this, like animation-wise, because he's like a little floating ghost dog. And so he's just constantly floating. And it's like, man, that must have been so hard to animate.
Projection, see through.
Like a double exposure, like they animate him on a black plate or something and double expose over the plate. Yeah, that's like a whole thing too. And then we get animation with the ghosts carrying presents. There's other techniques besides stop motion that are neat in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we also his other reindeer. We do get the moment where Sally
yeah.
watches her dad sort of like bring these things to life, and Jack's like, "Good, good." Like he's like getting everybody to help them, and they're doing Frankenstein to these like corpse deer. It's fucking so good.
And I
Yeah.
guess the Zero of being Rudolph is like a perfect homage to the Rankin Bass. I didn't think about
Oh
that
yeah,
pipeline, but yeah, it's 100%. Like, it's
Absolutely. The snakes and stuff, of course, reference to the Beetlejuice sandworms, I think, the striped snakes
yep,
and
yep.
things like that.
That
oh
was
yeah,
the handle on the mug. Was the little
oh
stripe
cool,
Yes. Yes.
that's perfect.
Um, and then of course, yeah, we have the Oogie Boogie scene where he's singing about gambling and whatnot and
I'm the
torturing
Oogie
Santa
Boogie Man.
Claus.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite songs as well, honestly. And
It's a good one.
I love Oogie Boogie's whole thing. Like I think he's a good guy actually.
He's
Uh,
right. Uh, you get to do that fight in Kingdom Hearts 2. Shout out,
right.
Square Enix.
And Sally, of
Into-
course, tries to save Santa Claus using her different body parts that she can separate from herself.
Classic leg gag, auga
Wait.
moment.
Again, there's a weird
Yeah.
foot fetish thing in this where
Right.
Oogie Boogie is
Wow.
like, I have a foot fetish. And I'm like, ooh, this is a kid's movie. This is interesting.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's definitely
Tarantino's
something that
favorite
happens.
film. Night Before Christmas.
But
Yeah, his
man,
favorite moment in this film for sure.
he gets his little thread caught in his spinny blade. I feel so bad for the animators that had to do. It's a short sequence, but all those hundreds and hundreds of tiny bugs.
I believe
Yeah.
that alone was truly like a month of filming. Honestly,
sure,
I've heard
yeah.
people specifically complain about that the Oogie Boogie like drove them to madness, and Henry Selick's like, "Good, I don't care."
It's incredible. And what a reveal when they rip off like his sack that contains him. He's just made up of all of bugs.
Bugs.
And this really
Is the
traumatized
lead
me as a
thing
kid. But,
just
yeah.
the little crickety guy or the cockroach that he like?
I like
That's
to think so.
I think he's kind of like he's just a combination of all the bugs together and they act as one unit somehow.
Yeah,
Um
he's a
hive
hive
I'm not sure
mind.
how. Yeah, he's a hive.
Yeah.
But Santa gets the last one, so technically Santa does kill Oogie Boogie, which is nice.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You know,
He gets revenge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Catharsis.
They murder
That's
Oogie Boogie.
accomplished.
yeah.
Yeah. He
After
comes
the
back.
psychological torture, yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And so a lesson is learned. We hand stuff over. Do you guys like how the little elves look?
Oh yeah, little goofy guys.
Yeah, they are
Fine
goofy
with
guys.
it.
Goofy guys.
I like how small they are. Like they're teeny tiny. And Santa's
Yeah.
very much like, okay, that was enough. I've truly got a job to get back to. And it's like,
Mhm.
get out of my way, everyone.
I feel like that's the Rankin Bass influence when we go to Christmas Land and we see all the elves working and
Oh,
stuff. It's
yeah.
like that's very Rankin Bass
Yeah.
right there.
Kind of like Herbie Core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hammering
Definitely.
away.
Mm-hmm. No, Santa is funny in this too because he is very like low key chill about it. He's like, "Where are we going now? Hold on a minute." Like he's not.
Get
Yeah.
your hands off me.
He should be more shocked at the events. than he
Right.
is.
And even after at the end, he's like, well, you shouldn't have done that, Jack. You should have just listened to Sally the whole time. She's the only one here that's not crazy. But all right, I'm leaving.
Merry
I gotta
Christmas.
go save Christmas. Yeah.
He gives him a happy Halloween. Yeah.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, he says happy
Right.
Halloween. That's
Stick
good.
to your own holiday. Yeah.
Oh, he makes it snow. That's right. He gives him a little
That's
Christmas
right.
miracle. He gives Jack a little bit of Christmas.
And they sort of have a reprise of what's this? The whole townspeople are discovering
Yeah.
snow. Yeah.
Yep. And then we get this Jack and Sally moment on Curly Hill.
Yeah.
It's
this is
actually
very romantic.
shockingly well written for the fact that the screenplay seemed like the last thought.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's
just
like they
the
wrote all the
music.
songs and they're like, let's make a plot that kind of fits all these songs together in a way that makes sense. Yeah, it's really good.
1 hour, 16 minutes, by the way. So it is quick. It's
Mm.
in and out. It's nice. And I did check it 15 minutes. We talk about Pirates having a good first act, but by 15 minutes, you know that like Jack's bummed out about this, and now he knows that there's a Christmas world, and this is what we're doing. Like they
Yeah.
set up the goals of the main characters in that beginning. So yeah, maybe we're giving that its flowers.
So
for
what's
writing.
better, what if you're going to Disney Plus streaming service and you're wanting to watch a Christmas thing? Do you put this on or do you put on Muppets Christmas Carol? That's the question, right?
I'm putting on the Muppets. That's why they're on my roster. But I'm
Yeah.
Sure.
glad we rewatched this. How about you?
Yeah, I'm glad to revisit it. I mean, we've done this around the holidays so many times with Gremlins Muppet Christmas Carol. It's just always fun to revisit these movies that I saw when I was young and remember so well. And it's like, oh man, it's been a decade since I probably watched this, but I'm so happy to be watching it again.
I think the moment that makes me happiest between all of those films is it's in the singing of a street corner choir. And when you see like Michael Caine just sort of like, you know what? I am fucking into this.
Yes, absolutely.
It's truly unhinged.
They just needed one human character to be in this to really make it.
Santa should have been a full-sized human.
Oh my gosh, yes. There we go. Oh man. No, but that's great.
That's Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
Should we head over to final thoughts?
Yeah, let's open our presents, which are, of course, creepy snails and snakes and bats and stuff.
Ooh, I got a scorpion.
That one kid is kind of happy, and his dad put that down.
I got a shrunken head.
We're back here on Normies Like Us, where it's ha 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 Halloween. No, it's not. It's ho 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 ho. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. We're talking Nightmare Before Christmas. Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas here on Normies Like Us.
Don't you forget that.
Disney presents Tim Burton.
Disney presents Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, directed by Henry Selick.
So let's again go back to kind of explain the framework here and say that we knew we were doing the Apes films. We knew we were going to talk about his eventually. It lined up perfectly with Beetlejuice. We knew we were going to do an episode
Tim Burton.
And Mike threw out, oh, let's just talk about this idiot's other movies. And this year, I've gotten more invested in this guy than I kind of ever have in my life. And a filmmaker I really loved. We've talked over the course of all 4 of those episodes of like how influential he was to young versions of us, how he's kind of the first filmmaker you recognize. I think this film is a symptom of that, in that his name is so prominently on it, even though, again, it's not a film he directed. And I have a feeling that this will be the last time we talk about him. I mean, I guess we'll do an episode on Wednesday season 2 in a year, 6 months, whenever that fucking comes out. Yeah.
Yeah, but it'll be probably a while now. At the end
we're kind of shutting the book for a little bit for a guy who really did take up a lot of our year, which is kind of interesting, right?
And it's fitting. Well, I was going to say to shut it on the one that he didn't direct. Like it makes sense to call it here, you know.
Well, even in
Christmas poem
for Spooktober, you know, we all watched Sleepy Hollow.
Yes,
I watched Sweeney Todd as one of my movies. I don't know if I ever mentioned that.
I did as well.
That's right.
Yeah. So we really revisited him. But let me ask you this: what has been longer since the previous season, and what are you less excited for? Wednesday season 2 or Stranger Things season 5?
Wow.
Which is coming out next summer, I think.
What a question, Jacob. 2 Netflix heavy hitters. Basically the one that's trying to replace the big Netflix.
But both have like multiple years since the last season. And it's like, what's taking them so long?
I mean, the 2 things we constantly bring up on this podcast. Movies look like dog shit with their lighting now, and TV production schedules are fucked.
Insane,
And I don't know what bugs me more, that literally, I mean, I feel like a different person than when we last talked about Wednesday. Like, I've gone through so many things in my life since.
Yeah.
It's
been a long time. I'm most concerned about Jenna Ortega's career, because I don't know what's going on with her career right now.
I can't.
There's this movie.
I'm too invested. I can't.
I saw this movie on Paramount Plus that is called like Finest Kind with Tommy Lee Jones.
You watched that?
It's like she's like, I didn't watch it, but I saw the intro for it. I'm like, what? Jenna Ortega is like the 4th lead in this Tommy Lee Jones movie. Like, what is she doing? Like, she should be on the path of like, I'm one of these, I'm the next Sydney Sweeney or whatever. I'm up and coming.
Zendaya.
She should be the Zendaya, Timothy Chalamet.
Jacob, you watched Challengers recently. She should be finding stuff like that, not like, oh, well, I'll kind of finally do a grown-up role, and it's that I'm kissing a boy, and Tommy Lee Jones is 90 years old, and you're like, what are you talking
fishing
about?
Boat or something? Yeah.
What is this?
Right. Beetlejuice. Wednesday. She's really, hooked into the Tim Burton machine
Yeah.
right now. I don't know if that's
to dangerous effect, in my opinion. But
weird
Yeah.
choices, but hopefully she can get it back on track.
I don't know. Her next movie's a Taika Waititi film, and I feel like the tide has very much turned on that man. So I don't know.
Really weird. Yeah, she had the other one with Martin Freeman, where she's like in a relationship with her professor in college.
That one I like.
What's that?
For very bad reasons.
Right. Miller's Girl, I think, something like that.
The Miller's Daughter or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, good luck, Jenna. We're all rooting for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch Wednesday season 2 when it comes out.
Yeah,
she's gonna, she's rewriting the writers' lines and everything. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird.
She said all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about what you said the other day, Jacob, just because I saw that. Speaking of long time TV production, the new season of Severance has Gwendolyn Christie in it, beloved actress of this podcast. And I was thinking about that quote you said where she was like, I love being in Wednesday. They made me feel glamorous and beautiful, and it's the only project I've ever been in that's like that. And I was in my mind like, yeah, you rule, Gwendolyn Christie. People should treat you that way.
Honestly, I was so sad that they killed her character in season 1, because I was like, she was great in that. But yeah. Well, we'll stay tuned. We'll see how that goes. I don't think we're going to revisit.
Doesn't crash out in the final season because the kids are getting too old. They're adults. But it's like,
visually, I can't even imagine what that show looks like.
All right, I'm a senior in high school. I'm 29 years old.
Millie Bobby Brown is married now.
Oh my gosh,
insane.
Right.
You could have had an entire Nightmare Before Christmas in the production timeline for that season.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy because I think every episode is like the length of a movie, so it's like 5 episodes that are all an hour and a half long. It's just like an insane way to make TV.
Maybe we'll do
that's not TV anymore. That's 5 movies.
No, and I have to assume the release will be staggered like they did last time. I bet we end up doing 2 episodes of this podcast on the final season of Stranger Things, which will be such a bummer.
Deathly Hallows Part 1
I feel like
and 2.
It's going to be a letdown. Yeah. I mean, the whole joke online is it's been so long since anyone cared about Stranger Things, but whenever they come back, I guess people get reinvested in them.
But here's my argument to that. And here's what I think these film executives are missing out, is that they go, of course we're going to double down. Who cares how long it takes? Stranger Things is the most popular show on the planet, and it always will be. Where they don't consider in their minds your audience. Let's say you are 10 years old when you watch that show, and it's taken 5 years for this next season to come out, and you're 15 now. The things you like when you're 10 versus when you're 15 are worlds apart. And we regressed a lot as a society where we stay very nostalgic, and people are like, no, actually the things I liked as a baby, I still like because that's what makes up my whole personality. But I don't think that can last, and I don't think it's a guaranteed thing that works for every property. And when they're like, why did Joker Folia do make no money versus the film that 4 years ago made so much? And it's because a bunch of high schoolers who saw that are now in fucking college, and they don't have time to fucking watch Lady Gaga dance.
And also
around.
because they made it insane, and they decided to make it like a courtroom drama musical. But Stranger Things is weird because it's it kind of had a revitalization in its last season, mainly because of that Kate Bush song "Running Up the Hill." I feel like that really gave it the juice, and it was and what's her name, the redheaded girl, was
Max.
such a big part of that,
who really has not gone on to do anything else after being signed from
the Whale.
I was gonna say, Jacob, speaking of Sweeney Todd, I think people fell in love with that Vecna kid, whatever that guy's name is.
Right, Jamie Campbell Bower, who was in Sweeney Todd. Yeah,
right.
What a name! What a great poll you just did.
Right. Yeah,
my friend did one of his music videos.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, he makes music. That's
he does music too. Yeah. So
that's awesome. Okay.
I mean, his first role was in a musical, right? So I think he has sort of a musical background, and Didn't have the career that maybe people expected when he first debuted, but became.
Remember when he's in one scene as Grindelwald in one of those
young
movies?
Grindelwald, yeah, which is weird because he plays a young
Insane.
version of Johnny Depp, so it's all wraps around to Tim Burton again.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
boy. Ugh.
There's a universe where he got to be it instead of Bill Skarsgård.
Well, I would say there's a universe where Johnny does Jack Skellington, and I wonder if that would have made him more sexy and appealing or less. I don't know.
I guess I
'Cause
wonder
obviously
why.
he's Corpse Bride.
Right.
Yes, Corpse Bride, and Tim Burton was working with him, Edward Scissorhands, at the time. So I wonder why he didn't cast him. But I guess it was just
Catherine O'Hara. I'll take Paul Rubens. Johnny, you sit this one out. It's like,
Yeah.
wow.
But I guess it really just is. Oh, Chris Sarandon sounds like Danny Elfman's singing
Yeah.
voice, and he has that very dramatic enunciation and everything that just fits the role so
To
well.
be Chris Sarandon's agent, who's sitting in a room playing a tape, going, "Do you hear this? This guy sounds just like you. We can definitely get this role." And Chris Sarandon's like, "I don't know. I like what are you saying?"
Yeah,
But they're like, you only have to read 15 pages. There's
Yeah,
not
so
a lot.
10 lines.
yeah. It probably
Right.
took him a day to do his part of this.
Yeah, knocked it out real quick.
It's like, what do you mean those movies were hard to make? I did it in one afternoon.
Yeah, no
I'm sure
problem.
he gets a ton of royalties and does the lines for Kingdom Hearts or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Well, and the last big thing I'll say about this film we covered today, the biggest resurgence of it probably in your guys' neck of the woods was 2 years ago at the Hollywood Bowl, when it sort of became a tradition that Danny Elfman puts this on. He conducts the orchestra. He does every part. He brings on famous people. He has Tim Burton
Yes.
do the intro and
Right.
does Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, he just does a live reading of it, essentially, a live performance.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
And Danny Elfman does a lot of his music live, and I think he play Coachella. It was just like Danny Elfman does
He
Coachella.
did,
It's like
and
all his
Jacob, I
famous
swear to
songs.
God, do
Yeah.
you know that he played the Simpsons theme when he was there?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, he
Dude,
plays
that's
the
sick.
Simpsons theme,
Insane.
all his classic songs, some Oingo Boingo.
To be on
Yeah.
drugs in an audience and be like, is he playing the Simpsons theme?
yeah. That
Yeah, that would blow my
that
mind to
caused
see the
some ego
Simpsons theme
deaths, I
live.
think. Yeah.
I hope so, Mike.
Yeah, man,
Wow.
what a guy! What a guy!
Yeah, carries this movie. What do you guys think of the fan theory of the Frank and Weenie, Corpse Bride, Jack Skellington pipeline, that they're all
I've
the
seen
same
that.
guy?
And that obviously Frank and Winnie dies, has this
That's
long
zero.
nose, becomes a little goat. I don't love that because, who gives a shit? I just think that's dumb.
Yeah,
But
honestly.
I can
Tim
also
Burton
see
verse.
it. I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't buy it, but yeah, I'm with you in the who gives a shit. But I wanted to ask, figured
Yeah.
why not?
But I mean, Jack Skellington is sort of one of in the Mount Rushmore of Tim Burton characters. You'd have like Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Jack,
Jack's-
and I don't know,
Batman.
but that's not really.
But that's not
Maybe.
his.
But that
No, the
version,
Penguin.
but even
No.
the Mad Hatter from
I
Alice
almost
in
said the Joker. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka, all our
Yeah.
favorite versions of.
Where
Johnny
does this?
Depp
So
characters.
we did our favorites. I would say, and Mike, I think you agree. Sleepy Hollow's both our number one. This might be my number two. Again, not that he directed, but just of things he's associated with. Honestly, and
over
I'll forever
Batman
watch
Returns.
Over which
it.
one?
Boy,
Batman Returns.
Ooh.
yeah, I guess Batman Returns is my number two. Yeah,
That's
I
the
don't know.
hard
I'll
thing,
put
right?
I'll put this at number 2 for me, just because
Wow.
of the complexity of its existence
Yeah,
on craft.
I don't know. My two sexual awakenings are Michelle Pfeiffer and Jack Skellington.
That's man, yeah. Tim Burton, he is a horny little guy, huh?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he has a type. He has a
Yeah,
type.
yes, he has a type. Yeah, I love this movie. It's fun to rewatch it. I haven't seen it. I watched it way more when I was younger, and it's just cool to be like,
Yeah.
damn, 3 years. I imagine the animator. It's just you and like a button for 8
Yeah.
hours a day, 10 hours a day, just moving little shit. If you bump a light, you
feel
have
like-
to start over. Oh,
I really appreciated the craft while watching this one and just thinking about how they did different things while I was watching that I probably, when I watched it as a kid, I didn't really think about even that it was stop motion. It was so hard to make. I just
No.
thought like, oh yeah, these characters are real, of course. It didn't seem like puppets to me at the time, but now it's like, yeah, obviously this took a lot of work and creativity to make, and it's so fascinating to watch. And I need to watch the behind the scenes stuff, and that would be so interesting too.
The
But yeah,
sets
it's
were
just,
big. They were like
yeah.
24 feet across, like it was quarter scale. Like they weren't super
Wow.
tiny, and it was like it took a village. You had to make the armatures, you had to do the molds of all the characters, all the
Sure.
faces, but do the buildings. It was like a whole shit ton of people just to make this weird little movie.
And stop motion is such a new term in the context of the long history of filmography. If your guys' parents were like mine, you've even said the words, Jacob, but I think they probably referred to it as claymation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that strictly comes from, I cannot remember this guy's name, but before Ray Harryhausen, before Phil Tippett, the guy
Mhm.
who invented the California raisins started the claymation process, and probably had a hand in Gumby as well. It's just such an incredible history, this film form. I went
Yeah.
through a huge Leica phase last year and watched them all in a row, and just, I don't know. I think in another life I could have done it. I think I could have had this like weird little outlet where I have the patience to just go like, I don't know. Probably at some point you just like think like, well, Jack Skellington's my best friend, and he like probably like talks to you as you're like moving around, right? Like you probably
Mhm.
just go insane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, and the
It's got to
ability
be
to create
wild.
such a memorable character out of,
Yeah.
a puppet like that. And I kind of think of claymation. I know they're the same thing basically, but I think, claymation, I think it is more as being based in clay, right? All the characters are made out of clay and you
Sure,
can
of
move them.
course.
Wallace and
Whereas,
Gromit.
yeah, whereas this is more like they're models. I mean, maybe they are also made out of clay, but they're like bendable,
Some kind of
posable
polymer,
models.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pour
Yeah.
some type of mold thing. Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, Wallace and Gromit. Again, I think I heard, I don't know if this is true. I haven't verified this 100%, but I read online that the kind of clay that they use to make Wallace and Gromit, like they stopped
Mhm.
making that and they
Yep.
can't get it anymore. So like
Yep.
it's essentially going extinct as an art form because they can't
There is
make
a
Wallace and Gromit anymore.
finite amount left. Yes, that is
That's
true.
crazy to me. Yeah.
Jeez, oh man. Well, CG Wallace and Gromit, here we come. I did a research on the first stop motion film or project, a little short, and what I
Right.
found was a piece of lost media called The Humpty Dumpty Circus that was allegedly made in 1898.
Wow,
These
that's
guys,
insane.
yeah, they figured out, they had the idea, what if we took 24 pictures, maybe not 24, but multiple pictures moving their daughter's toys or whatever, and like would it look like it's moving? And so that was their little experiment, was this like circus setup that their daughters had, but it's lost media, unfortunately.
And of
But
course,
it's been
yeah,
a long
there's
time people have been doing this.
Yeah.
right. Jason and the Argonauts with like the
Mhm.
skeletons and stuff.
Classic Ray
That
Harry,
was
King
Ray
Kong,
Harryhausen.
1932. Yep.
That's
Yeah.
right. And just I'll say the last advent of technology, because we talk so much about computer graphics. Mike, to talk about your wheelhouse, the
Hmm.
biggest thing that's changed the stuff now, 3D printing.
Yeah.
Mm. Actually, that's a good point because that probably would make some of the workflow at least a lot easier.
You bake 100 heads at once, Jacob, and you just
Yeah.
pop those things off and put them back on. Mike, it would
Mm-hmm.
obviously cost you a fortune. I would love to see you make a little stop motion short of something, dude. That would be
Yeah.
so cool.
I mean, even
Well,
if
another thing people, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying the large format printers they have now, like you could print the sets, like you know what I mean. You don't have to construct and then just send them to your painters. Yeah, it would be totally doable. Mm-hmm.
I just remembered another version of stop motion that we haven't even mentioned, but Lego. People make stop motion Lego movies.
Yeah. Yes, they
Um,
do.
Have you ever
And
tried to do
because
I
stop
like
motion stuff, guys? Like with Legos
That's
before?
I think when you're young, your parents tell you, take this camera. All you'd have to do is take 1,000 pictures, and
yeah,
all you do is
you can
move
make
your
a
Lego piece
20-second
by piece by
film.
piece. And I definitely did a school project where I did something like this. For
Mhm.
sure.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, if you have a lot of Legos, it's easy to do that. And there's amateur Lego artists that are doing crazy things. And like even in Spider Verse, Across the
Mhm.
Spider Verse, they had
Oh
like
yeah.
a teenage kid who was doing these Lego.
They had
and
a child.
Yeah.
Yes, he was such a fan that they were like, well, we'll just have you, he did it like on his own, and they were like, well, we'll commission you to make like an actual scene in the movie. And that little scene where the Lego one calls the real Oscar Isaacs and it's like, yo, wow, like I need help here or whatever. That is a
Mhm.
child
Yeah.
who animated that. That's so
That's
cool.
so
Right.
sick.
Yeah.
No, that's
So
awesome.
people are keeping the art form alive. But
Yeah.
like you could never make a CG movie that looks like you could make one that looks like stop motion, but you'll always be able to tell that it wasn't actual
Yes, you can.
practical stop motion. It was, computer generated. But
Yeah.
that's the way the world
And those
is.
little videos that are always in the credits of the Leica films, like the Coraline one's probably the most famous, where Coraline Jones is like hitting the animator away. You know what I mean? Where they show you a sped up version of the hands sort of in the
Mhm.
frame touching things. I love those. And another big advent of the technology is removing fingerprints. You'd get these fingerprint impressions on the models and dolls. Like that was such a boon for them to be like, oh my God, we don't have to clean these things so thoroughly like we do. So
Yeah.
I shout out Leica for pushing the technology because they're doing stuff with like armatures that they can CG out. So like they would have like a frame, but it allows them to do more. So they're blending like composite shots with the hand animation to like do things that haven't been done in the art form before. So that's pretty cool when you do see those behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way, I think of stop motion as the anti-AI because it's so easy to make some AI slop that takes no effort or creativity. This is the opposite because it takes a tremendous amount of effort and creativity to make a minute-long video.
there's
So to
no
make
prompts. There's
Yep.
no corners.
so
to it.
down with AI, up with
A human
stop
being
motion.
is literally involved in every single thing that you see on the frame. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome. Fell in Love with a Girl, Michelle Gondry. Great Lego music video that's stop motion. One of the
Yeah.
classics.
Absolutely. White Stripes.
Yeah, well, that's right. White Stripes. So
That's right. Yeah. And on top of that, incredible music, incredible screenplay, iconic characters and worlds. So this movie really has everything, and it's there's a good reason why it's such a beloved classic at this point. So, yeah, I'm glad we revisited it for sure.
I'm glad we talked about it. I
Mhm.
eat shit about what I said before. There's so much to love and comment on this film, and so much ground that we covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Elfman at maximum power in this one.
And he has since been canceled, I believe. So,
really?
Yeah, there was something
something's
about
going
that,
on.
but
Yeah, I'm not
jeez.
positive.
he played Coachella, so I don't know.
Well,
Oh God. All right. Well, I redact that. But yeah, this is a good movie.
it is good.
Fair.
Well, yeah, when he's a lot of people connected to Tim Burton, Johnny Depp, Danny Elfman. I don't know what's going on there.
Winona Ryder,
What
no
is
thief.
connections? Yeah.
That's right. Shoplifting, an equally bad crime.
Oh my God, no! It's totally innocent. Don't you dare lump her in with
Leave
these
Winona
maniac
alone.
men.
You love
She's
Winona.
Stranger
She never did
Things.
anything
Shit. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Good stuff. Oh, I wanted to shout out this movie and the era of the emos, because it's Christmas, Nightmare Before Christmas, and I just wanted to shout out there's a My Chemical Romance version of All I Want for Christmas that was recorded years ago.
Well, Mike, didn't you slip it into our last episode? I
Yeah.
believe I did hear it.
I did. So you probably heard it last time, but I've only encountered the actual Mariah version twice in the wild so far. That's incredible.
Oh no, I've heard it.
You got to go to like Target and just stand around, listen to this, whatever
No.
they play. I'm sure
I
they
went
play
to a Hot Topic last month. I was looking for a Digital Circus T-shirt because they,
Did
of
you?
course, sell weird animated movie and TV show merch, and it just looks so cheap. It's so cheap now. And also, they're
Yeah.
owned by some sort of super religious organization that's like anti-abortion or something.
Oh, dang it. Hot Topic.
That's kind of what I imagine. It's a lot of anime stuff now.
A lot of Disney stuff, not just
a lot of
this
Disney.
Disney film,
Oh,
but
right.
like Aladdin, where you're like, Hot Topic.
They
Look,
should've
it's
never
not what it
turned the
was
lights
back
on.
in the good old days, 2000s.
Yeah.
When we were young,
When we
everything
were
was
young.
better.
You said.
Yeah. Bring back the Suicide Girls. I don't want any of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that. Like, yeah. Bring them back. I
But
don't know.
definitely check out Meet the Barkers, the MTV reality show from 2005, where you can watch the Nightmare Before Christmas themed wedding of
I
Travis
will be doing
Barker.
that.
There's one episode. This is a very funny thing that our friend Cole and I talked about once, where there's an episode where he's like, I need to go like sit in the car for a minute, and he comes back and his eyes are just bloodshot red. You can just tell he just smoked a bunch of weed. It's
Okay,
very
I feel a
funny.
bit like I can talk about that thing we had to talk about. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
man.
So check that out for sure.
Call that a drum roll.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
There's probably a lot of weddings based on this movie. So write in and let us know if you've had one of those or attended one of those. Because
Yeah,
it's
or been
Yeah.
to one, or someone who's like obsessed with this movie, made it their whole personality.
If you have merch, listeners, if you wear an Oogie Boogie hoodie, we want to know that. If you ever dressed up
right.
as any of these characters,
Yes.
if you can tell me what a skeleton is over a skeleton, I'd love to know that too.
Yeah. At one point, they do call him Skeleton Jack in the movie, which is like, maybe they
Yeah.
didn't know that. I don't know if they ever call him Jack Skellington within the movie itself. So,
No,
I
just
don't
the
know.
Pumpkin King.
The Pumpkin King.
Hmm.
But he's not a
Jack
pumpkin, he's a skeleton.
Pumpkin King. Yeah.
Right, but
Pumpkin
he rules
King.
over the pumpkins with an iron fist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Great Pumpkin.
Do you guys
Anyways.
like Jack Pumpkinhead from Wizard of Oz?
Wait,
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't remember that.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
He looks
Yeah.
a lot like this character, is all
All
I'll
right.
say.
There's like the Wizard of Oz 2, right? Where it had like a
Yeah,
weird
Return to
combat.
Oz.
Oh,
Return
yeah,
to
I never
Oz.
seen that
Bruce
one.
Bulk. Oh, that's one of the best movies ever made. All right. Well,
All right.
I think that's all our final thoughts here. Happy holidays, of course. And again, write to us at normies_like_us and answer all those questions we said. If you got a tattoo, if this is your favorite Tim Burton thing. If you didn't know that this wasn't directed by Tim Burton, write in too, because I'd still love to know if that's like a consistent thing people think. Hit us up, rate, review, subscribe, and check out our YouTubes as well, where you can watch these episodes.
That's right. And just as a teaser for next week, of course, we're returning to Whoville, if you will, for Cindy Lou Who, aka Doctor Who. The Doctor
Hey.
Dr. Whoville.
returns. The Doctor is in. So, yeah, we did it last year. 2 David Tennant Christmas specials this year.
Do you want to say, do you know the names of them so that they can watch ahead if they're going
Yes. So the ones I want to talk about this time, the first one is the first Matt Smith Christmas special called A Christmas Carol, I believe. And it is sort of a takeoff on A Christmas Carol. So that'll be a
Nice.
fun one.
I love
And
those.
then the second one is it's called The Day of the Doctor. It's actually the 50th anniversary special of
Ah.
Doctor Who.
Cool.
And it's my favorite episode of Doctor Who ever. So I'm really excited to talk about that. It's not the Christmas special though. It's it came out like around Thanksgiving that year, and then they had another one called The Time of the Doctor that was the Christmas special. I didn't want to talk about that one because it's very lore intensive, because it's the finale of the Matt Smith era. It's his last episode. So it's
Okay.
wrapping up all his plot lines from the 3 years that he was
Boy.
Doctor Who. And I was like, this is going to be complete nonsense to you guys.
Right.
So it's not explicitly Christmas themed, this one, but The Day of the Doctor, it's my favorite Doctor Who episode. It's the big 50th. It's like the biggest budget one they ever did, because they really wanted to blow it out for the 50th.
Wow.
Special.
I'm very
Okay.
excited to talk about those now. And I love
Yeah.
a complex lore. So I always love when we kind of dip into a show that Mike and I know nothing about.
Yeah, it would just be so inscrutable.
deep
And that
end.
one is Christmas themed, but it's
Yeah.
also wrapping up every plot line from his 3 years. So it would be completely inscrutable to you guys, I feel like, because
But in
his
this
years are
episode,
so confusing. Yeah.
in this episode, the Doctor does go through the Thanksgiving holiday tree, right? He goes to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, he goes to
land.
Thanksgiving land. He meets the Native Americans and the Pilgrims, and nothing bad happened.
He
Probably.
better not.
A lot of,
Yeah.
just kumbaya, you know?
Right. But I think
Yeah.
you'll like both of these, hopefully. So in the first one, again, Christmas Carol, that'll be a lot of fun. Guest starring
Looking
a
forward to
famous
it.
British actor that, we'll see. We'll see what you guys think.
All right.
So that's next week.
It's more
Doctor Who.
And then we'll be, as we've said in our last episode, taking a break for the holidays, and then we'll be coming back with a little more Main Monkeys and some New Year.
That's
So-
right. That's right.
Absolutely. All right. We'll catch you then with the real who's who on the next episode, you know?
Yeah. We've been your
Absolutely.
hosts. This is, I don't know, like, creepy Colin, I've got fingers.
I'll be Mayor Mike.
This is the Jake that lives under your bed. I have bugs for teeth and eyes that are red.
All right.
Thanks,
He's got
Normies.
bugs for teeth.
Yeah, pretty scary.
That's
It
really
is.
scary. All right. Enjoy your shrunken heads. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy New Year's.
Happy Honda Days.